Welcome back to Next Time on Grand Prix World. What's going on now is we've made some dramatic policy changes. I'm no longer talking to Bridgestone. I went over to this screen, and what you will see, actually it wasn't that screen at all, it was this screen. You'll see this here. We have no positive relationship with them whatsoever. We have a positive relationship with Elf and Brastamp, so these guys will be our next target for sponsorship after Danker. I have to give Danker a chance, simply because 5 million is too much to turn down. But we need to start capitalising on what relationships we have. Actually, in fact, I'm going to make a move on Brastamp now before anything gets any lower. Let's cut 2% off you. Okay, we'll put this 11% on talks with Brastamp. Their backing is part of what puts together Pedro Diniz's package, actually. And do we invite them to Montreal? It's a good question. We won't, because it's the first round of negotiations, so the benefit is somewhat mitigated. It's the same with these two, but whatever. Okay, so that's where we are with that. Over at the design office, things are still... We've got a boost to efficiency, but things are not looking great. I'm sticking with it because this first stage is the one that provides the most benefit to the car for next season. I'm thinking of rushing out this diffuser as well. It's not going to give us a huge boost, but maybe towards the end of the season, when others have brought out upgrade packages, it might be enough to keep us away from the clutches of the Tyrrells. Let's have a look at the state of the cars. Not good at all. We're going to have to build 2 spare parts and divide them equally between Diniz and Sarlo. That makes me very unhappy, because it means Diniz, who has delivered a point for us now, is not going with his best foot forward. Excuse me just a moment. Bit of a sneeze there for you. Okay, let's see what condition we can get Sarlo's car into with 1. Yeah, and what can we do here? Not great. Let's see if we can't strengthen the construction department. We can. I hate myself for breaking my rule about hiring, but we are getting to a desperate stage, to be honest with you, where we're going to need the effect of these staff members. It's annoying that construction actually is the only department that's really suffering for morale. Okay, so we set up the sponsors, set up the car repairs. We have no updates. I think we're good to run. So we'll keep this as normal. Normal, and normal. What we want to do actually now is take a look at Sauber's races, and we're gonna see if Sauber actually have any traction control we could potentially copy. They seem to be the next team on our picking list, really. They tend to beat us on attrition or overall race performance simply because they're running with Ferrari power, but the car itself seems to be inferior, certainly in quali trim. So we're in the ballpark together, which means there's stuff we can learn from them that's going to have a more immediate benefit. Let's run it. So no changes for qualifying. Three laps of fuel per lap. Run on set 1. Go 11th and 12th. So we've come out exactly the same place we came last time. Same cars ahead of us. The Saubers have closed the gap to 2/10, less than 2/10 with a Lacey, but that's not really a solid metric actually, because most people would agree that Jean Alesi and Johnny Herbert are actually far superior drivers to Pedro Diniz and Mika Salo, and that compensates for the difference. So actually, we're getting really good performance out of this car somewhere. I presume it must be aerodynamically. These guys must be running with less than 50% handling. That's the only thing I can think of, especially because the Stewarts are running with a Works Ford engine that isn't too shy with the power, and neither is the Peugeot actually that Prost are running. We're in a good place in that sense, at least. Okay, off to the races. We're going to not run on scrub tyres, and the reason for that is that, especially on longer stints like I'm planning here, 35 to 34 I think, those tyres being scrubbed can sort of kick you in the nads a little bit, and it doesn't matter if we start on colder tyres if we have the longevity we need to make sure particularly Salo gains places while the others are stopping. Let's hit it. Salo 9th, Diniz accident 18th. Bad news, Pedro Diniz, because that's a whole bunch of spare parts we can't afford. No change in the constructors. So finally, some good news. We have our partner deal with Mugen ready to sign. That provides us no financial income, but it saves us 7 million, which that's basically 7 million in free money that we won't see reflected on the balance sheet. So yeah, I'm going to sign that without any delay. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave 10% of our staff on this deal, because we want to unlock some bonuses where we get ourselves a few upgrades here and there. Now we also have a television advantage that we can offer to boost our negotiations. We're being offered a potentially 2-year partner deal with Goodyear compared to 1 season with Bridgestone, or 2.4 million for 2 seasons from Danker. I'm going to use this advantage on the Danker deal, and the reason for that is that we already have a backup plan for tyres. We've got a customer deal with Bridgestone we can sign to make sure we can take part in next season, but we are very sparse on the old sponsorship money. Let's just see if Danker are still available for negotiation. Yes, they are. I also got a message that Brastemp have signed with someone else, which means we've completely wasted time maximising that advantage we had in our relationship with them, and left us with 37% of our staff available. So I'm going to boost this to 30 and use our TV advantage. I'm going to boost our tyre numbers to 30, and then I'm going to put the remainder on the new sponsor after I've signed Tommy Hilfiger. So yeah, that leaves us 22%. Who are we going to go after? Let's go after Zepter, simply because they're already on our sponsor portfolio, which means we might have some level of relationship with them. We'll kick Mugen Honda off for the moment and bring Zepter on for hospitality. Let's see how the staff situation looks. Morale is still terrible in the construction department. Really terrible. Let's strengthen it some more. Because these staff might not be available later, and it could be them that makes a difference between us having a car for next season and not. We'll also bring some more designers on board. That's our design team full now. We can't have more designers without expanding our facilities. We're around halfway through the season and we're still on stage 1 here. Efficiency is climbing, and one more round should get us to full benefit there. We might have to rush some of the later stages. I'm still going to wait to move this along because we have to pay to hire a wind tunnel, and we might as well do that when we're using it for both projects and get better bang for our buck. Still no upgrades. Our CAD and CAM is still going to be ready for 1999, so that's something that should avoid some of the problems that we're experiencing now. Now the big problem is getting the cars running again. Apparently that damage level is not high enough to prevent the car from being raceable, but it is going to knacker its performance. We've maintained our money at 4.4 million. I might regret this, but it's now 550,000 to build a new car. Can we finish it? We can. Oh, that's not smart. It might still be something that we do. Because don't get me wrong, it's not all negative. That car is likely to perform much, much better than the ones that we're sort of patching together. But nevertheless, it's just too much money to throw away at this stage in the season when, you know, we've still got a final build to account for. Let's fix up the cars as best we can. We've got everything set up. Now what we're going to do is, you see this button here, that allows us to change our team sponsor slot into a regular sponsor slot, and once we click that, the next sponsor we sign becomes a team sponsor. And what's the effect of that? That deal, so imagine it's this money doubles and their branding is all over the car like a team sponsors would be. Team sponsors give the most money, usually 20 to 36 million ish. So we'd be selling our team sponsorship for 4.8 million, which wouldn't be enough to keep a top tier team competitive, but it's going to potentially catapult us up the grid in a season or two. It's only a 2-season deal, so it's not too bad. We can try and get better performance next season and the season after, and then go after a big money team sponsor for season 4. So I have to remember to do that before I sign anything. And let's take a look how the car's looking now. 30% of the car is covered, and we look like this. The graphics have not aged very well. It used to be a lot sharper. I don't know if it's a byproduct of running it on a new computer and it's not very well optimized or anything, but you used to have quite, not high resolution graphics necessarily, but you used to be able to read the logos that were on the cars, so that's unfortunate. Let's hit the road. And by the way, feel free to leave feedback in the comments below if you feel I'm pushing ahead too quickly or you'd like me to cover anything in any more detail. But when we're simming the races, it takes a lot of that stuff out of it, and what we're focusing on really is development of the chassis, development of our facilities and departments, and development of our sponsor arrangements. And hopefully you're sort of seeing how quickly, or in our case, how poorly negotiations are going, because it's not just the effectiveness of your department or how much you spend on hospitality, it's also your relationship with different companies. And if you have a relationship with an engine supplier that goes on for 6 seasons or whatever, they're going to be much happier working with you, especially if you've delivered success, and that's not a pedigree we have. Let's qualify. Again, no changes. 9th and 10th, so we've gained a place over Damon Hill, who's had a bit of a rough day actually. He's 3/10 off Ralph Schumacher's time. So I suppose for teammates it's not too bad. Mika Salo seems to be waking up a little bit as well. He's now inside a 10th between him and Diniz, and I think it was the same last round, but I'm probably wrong. This is what we wanted, really. That the team, what I really expected to see was something similar to this, but Salo ahead. So Diniz is still punching above his weight. But the interesting thing is that we're now starting to see them much closer together, which is exactly what we want. Presumably this is just a stronger track for Salo than the others we've visited. Okay, let's make the car as light as possible. And again, we're going to put Salo on a 2-stopper. 2-stopping is actually a great way of getting cars to come home in a position where they don't really deserve to, but you run a greater risk of a non-finish, and it does. The certain stats of the driver actually come into play that help you decide if it's a good idea or not. The reason I'm doing it here is split strategy means we have absolutely nothing to lose. You know, we don't have 2 drivers fighting out for the championship or anything, where we have to make really key decisions based on the best possible data. What we're doing here is essentially throwing race strategy at the wall to see what sticks, to see if splitting our strategy we can deliver a surprise result for one or ideally both drivers. Let's see. Again, Salo comes home in 9th, so you know that's a step forward, but it did come at the cost of Pedro Diniz, who had an engine failure. I'm surprised, honestly, that we've got halfway through the season and only had one engine failure, because that heart unit is not beating around the bush. It's the worst engine in the game, and I did expect us to have more than one explosion at this point. No change in the constructors as far as we're concerned. Let's see how things are going in Sponsorland. Now there we go, that TV advantage that we deployed here has really moved those negotiations along, so we have to hope we can fill that last box on the round in the UK. Tyres are going nowhere, not necessarily a problem. And what kind of deal is Zepter in the market for? 1.9 million for a season. That's pretty good. I mean, 3 boxes is a bit of an ask without having an advantage to deploy, but that's okay. We won't complete our sponsorship package this season, I think that's fair to say, but we will. I'm less concerned now that we're going to find ourselves entering the last race of the season without a major supplier, which is very, very good. And even if we don't get upgrades next year, the engine is a step forward. It's definitely going to be a step forward in terms of power. Which power obviously is where we're suffering a lot at the moment. As much as I hate to do it, I think I'm going to build a new chassis. I really do, because the construction department is in such disarray. We've actually had people quit. Between rounds. The morale problem is very real. I'm going to boost all our departments. We seem to be okay for money, which is a surprise. Also, we could actually sell some of the team if the price was good. 125,000. It's not too bad. If I sell another 4%, that's enough to finance the cost of building a new chassis for Diniz. As you know, don't like doing this. Bit of a waste of cash, but it means that we have one car that's in perfect condition. that Diniz can be using. And we can bring Collard back into the game, and maybe we can start looking at doing some testing. The great thing about having a fourth chassis is it classifies as an R&D car, which it actually provides a boost. That of course hinges on us fixing up the damage on the research and development car. Didn't think that through, did I? So what we need to do now is make sure the least worn and damaged car, which is car 1, is in the hands of Sarlo. Car 2 will go to Collard. No repairs to handle now. All the sponsors are still in, that's good news. Let's go to the design office, see if we've had any progress there. We have, excellent, so the primary stage is now complete. We're going to have to really rush through this now in order to build cars for next season. So we'll do the CFD simulation stage now. I'm going to have to write off that upgrade package. I've realised now that it was not only a waste of designers but a waste of money. I think in my haste to show you that mechanic of the game, I didn't really think through the decision. The reason I say that is we'd have to take designers off the 1999 chassis to sort of get at least some points in the wind tunnel stage, and then we'd have to have manufacturing capacity to build and apply the upgrade, which we just don't have. When our CAM facilities come online next season, possibly, but for the moment it's not really a viable strategy for us. We'll do one more quali and race, I think, and then I'll call this for an episode and hopefully get another one out. I hope. So Diniz is in his shiny new chassis, which should make him a little bit happier. Still no upgrades from any of our suppliers. That also is a bit of a killer. Which makes me even more proud, actually, that we're sort of holding position. th and 12th, so business as usual. The gap to the Jordans has opened out to 6/10. Stewart seemed to be gaining on us. The Saubers have fallen back. Again, it depends how well the drivers synergise with the track, of course. Hakkinen takes pole from Michael Schumacher on a 1:23.635. Frentzen takes third. The Benettons have taken a step forward. I mean, with Wirtz winning a race, but also I think continual top 6 placement has been on the cards for them as well. So bonus points there. Dave Richards with your sexy beard. Okay, so we'll drop the fuel again. Fresh tyres for everybody. The Milky Bars are on me. And Sala will do 2 30-lap runs on the hard compound. See, honestly, it's been very strange for Diniz to crash out the last 2 rounds because I would expect Sarlo to do it. He's been carrying more wear consistently. He's been driving on a much less conservative strategy, and he has been pushing the car more to its limit. So I guess maybe he just has greater mechanical sympathy. That's probably an explanation for it. Away we go. Pedro Diniz comes through with another point. What a legend. That is fantastic. Unfortunately, Sarlo had a component issue, and Schumacher was disqualified, which probably gave us that point. Hakkinen had an engine failure, and the win fell to Frentzen, followed by Johnny Newhouse. So that's a Williams 1-2 ahead of Wirtz in the Benetton, so another good result for Benetton as well. That was a surprise. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that result. Let's see what effect that has on our sponsorship negotiations. I mean, it's good that we're even more secure now in our positioning. Not really helped us, except here. Okay, so before I call the episode, let us check out how we best do this. I've forgotten which screen it was on now. It's okay. Facepalm away, facepalm away. I'll catch up. There it goes. Yes. Oh dear. I just realised that actually changed the terms of the deal to 1 season. But it is better for us anyway. It gives us 4.8 mil to the war chest for next season, which is not insignificant. Given we combine that with the pay drivers, we combine that with the saving from the engine. If we can get a partner deal for tyres, that would be fantastic news, especially for 2 seasons. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. Again, I'm going to leave 10% of our staff behind to negotiate some extra bonuses, because they can really add up. What's going on at Zepter? Nothing, but we haven't done any... I'll get Brembo on board as well. We haven't done any hospitality for them yet, so... What do we do here? I think we need to keep things as they are, actually. If we don't see any movement on the Zepter deal, we might have to reevaluate our priorities and perhaps go after some other smaller cash sponsors and give that VIP slot back to Mugen Honda so we can try and pick up some boni. I'm not too bothered about bonuses from Esso at the moment. They surprise me by only being in the market for a customer deal. That's disappointing. Priority now has to be landing this deal, because 2 seasons, you can't really underestimate how important that is. That means for however many races this deal takes to sign, we've lost 30% of our staff that could be working on getting us something else. So to not have to do that next season is a massive advantage as well. So I'm pleased to say that we've left this episode in a much better state than that which we found it. How many rounds have we got left? This is round 10, so if I finish this stage here, round 11, round 12, and then we've got 13, 14, and 15 and 16 for construction, so we could actually afford to give this stage another round, and then we have to hope that the construction department is able to handle what we're packing. I'm going to fire 2 guys and bring 2 experts in. I know it's a bad move, economically speaking, but we've got a bit of a cushion that I didn't expect us to have at this stage. The design office was full, someone quit, so we'll hire another pro. And the commercial department, we have a star worker, which is great, and we can hire 2 more experts. And for our race team, we'll take on another 4. Excellent, excellent, excellent. This is all very, very good. Okay, thank you very much for joining me. I will see you next round. Take care.